Thank you so much for coming. If you're here to see the Azure Advisor in action, you are in the right place.
Hello, I'm Scott Hitch. Thanks for coming.
And my name is Jan Kallis, and we will walk you through the Azure Advisor session today. We have lots of demos, so let's get through the slides pretty quickly. Now, what is Azure Advisor? Azure Advisor is your personalized guide that is built into Microsoft Azure portal, and it allows you to identify and boost your performance, improve high availability, enhance security, and also identify resources that may be stopped or downsized where you can save some money. So it's personalized cloud guide that is available to all of you. Out of curiosity, how many of you are using Azure Advisor today? Only a couple, 2, 3 people? Okay, so you might know today that use of Azure Advisor comes at no cost to you, so you just literally launch Azure Portal and launch Advisor. And I think that's a great segue into the demo.
Yep, let's do it. So, how many of you are running a production application on Azure, either as a developer or you're managing the infrastructure? Okay, so a lot more hands there. So, how many of you feel like it would be good to have something like Advisor that gave you recommendations? Presumably that's why you're here. Okay, good to know. Great. So I'm going to just give you a brief overview of Azure Advisor here. So what you can see is when you launch it in the portal, and it's really easy to get to. So I'll just show you here. You can see the Azure Advisor icon there. It's a little cloud with a ribbon on it, or you can always search for Advisor in the portal. It's pinned to your dashboard, so just log in the portal and you'll find it there. You might need to scroll down. And then you just launch it, and it's going to analyze your particular environment, your resources, and then give you a set of recommendations. And as Jan said, they're broken into these categories of availability, security, performance, and cost. One thing to note is you can select the subscriptions that you're interested in. So if you have some subscriptions that aren't running production resources and you don't want to analyze those, you can take those out. And you can also download your recommendations as a PDF, or you can get them in an Excel worksheet, and that's usually something that people do because they want to distribute the workload and they want to sort of manage the process a little bit. So here you can see it's just a really simple PDF that allows me to download those recommendations. But let's drill in a little bit and let's look at some cost recommendations. So the first thing you can see is I have 2 different cost recommendations, and that impacts 31 of my resources in the selected subscriptions. And I could see here that if I was to enable all those recommendations, that would save me up to about $3,000 a month. And so that's an interesting way for you to see that opportunity. And let's click in and see what one of those recommendations is. So here you can see I have a high impact recommendation to right size or shut down some underutilized virtual machines. And that applies to 29 of my virtual machines. So this has been a really popular recommendation that we released with Azure Advisor quite a while ago, and we get a lot of usage of this one. There's a lot of reasons why a VM might be underutilized. I mean, we've had people create them and then just forget that they're running. Anyone had that happen? You ever create a VM, forget it's running, and look at your bill and it's like, a few $100s that you didn't recognize? So let's click into that. And so what we do is we look over the past 14 days and we look at at a 5-minute interval, we look at the maximum CPU utilization during every 5-minute interval, and then we average that out. And if that's below the threshold, then we'll trigger this recommendation for you. So this is personalized to your actual usage over the last 14 days. So if I look at this first VM here, I can click into it and say, why am I getting that low usage recommendation? And pretty easy to see here that the CPU in this VM is not getting much action. So then it's really up to you to kind of go through and decide, hey, should I shut this down or resize it? It may be that there's a valid reason. But the advisor sort of helps you understand that you should go look into that recommendation. The other thing that you can do on this recommendation is you configure the rules. So if you don't like the default threshold that we set, then you can change and set your own threshold. So you do this at the subscription level. And so you can see in this case, I've got one of my subscriptions set up to trigger if the utilization of the CPU is lower than 20% on average, but I can actually change that to be at 5, 10, 15, or 20. And so that's been a really popular ask from our customers. So I just want to also point out that some of the features I'm showing you today for Advisor are in preview. So in particular, the configurability of the threshold that I just showed you, that's in preview. It'll be out for everyone in a few weeks. The dashboard's available for everyone right now, and the multi-subscription support is also something that's in preview that will come out soon. So let's look at one more cost recommendation here. So you can see that Advisor brings in recommendations that exist in other places in the Azure portal as well. So this first one here is a SQL Elastic database pool. So this is a recommendation that you'll see if you're in the SQL Server management part of the portal. But we bring all those recommendations that you might get elsewhere right into this one place in Advisor, so that you have one place that you can go and manage those. So this is a really cool recommendation that the SQL folks put together that will tell me that, hey, if I were to set up Elastic pools for this database, I could potentially save up to, and we'll count to 4. Oh, there we go. $787 a month. So that's a really great recommendation as well. So I definitely encourage you to go to the portal, run Azure Advisor, and look at the recommendations you have today. You might find some cost savings opportunities. So let me go back and show you the next category is the performance recommendation. So in this case, I have another SQLDB Advisor recommendation to improve database performance. And so again, this is a recommendation that's been around for a little while, but it's really interesting and very, actually pretty full featured here. So in this case, it's for example, recommending that I should create an index. And if I'm interested in creating that index, it will actually apply this for me right here in this interface. And then you can actually tell it that, hey, I'd like you to apply this recommendation, this index, in the future when you see a similar condition. Okay, so not every Advisor recommendation works that way, but this is a great example of a recommendation that does do that. Let me pause for a second. Do you have any questions from the audience about Advisor or anything I've shown so far? Question about Cloudin. Is it powered by Cloudin? It's not powered by Cloudin. Microsoft recently acquired Cloudin, and you'll see if we click into the cost recommendations that we have a link off to Cloudin, but right now they are separate, but over time we'll integrate them together.
And definitely Cloudin is a great cost management capability for multi-cloud environments. Advisor provides native capability of monitoring and optimizing different resources in Azure. And as you've seen, it does not just apply to VMs, it's also some of the PaaS services like SQL and many others. And I'm happy to show you even the security and high availability recommendations that will show some of more differentiation between the two if there is some confusion. But we are happy to take it offline and follow up with more details.
So one more question here. Yeah. The question is about availability for web apps. Is there a specific recommendation you had in mind? Yes. Yeah, so I don't have anything to announce on that right now on web apps, but we could follow up. Nothing to announce on the future plans, yeah. Okay, so Jelen, do you want to show a couple of the other tabs?
Yes, absolutely. So what Scott walked you through was the cost recommendations, including configurable thresholds and performance recommendations. Let's go into the security recommendations here. And for those who are familiar with Azure Security Center, how many of you are using Azure Security Center? So some of you. So Azure Advisor actually exposes recommendations from Azure Security Center. So you can use one pane of glass, meaning Advisor, to access all the recommendations in Microsoft Azure. And some of those recommendations are, again, very easy to enable right in the portal. So for example, this one specifically also shows me some description of the recommendation. It shows me links to more information. And this was related to some recent changes in the VM agent that needs to be installed. Another one that is quite a favorite of mine, it's also one of the very popular ones, is the capability of installing endpoint protection on your virtual machine. or on your set of virtual machines. So in this case, you see that you can even perform a bulk action. Right from here, you will install this antivirus protection into the VMs that you have selected. There are also some other great capabilities, configuring the NSG on subnets and virtual machines and much, much more. Now going into high availability, let's take the questions till the end, if that's okay with you. Now let's go into the section that is called high availability. So in this category, we identify resources where you may increase resiliency of those resources. However, there's one recommendation that I'd like to show you that is the most popular in this category, which is enabling VM backups. And so again, right here, almost on one click, you can enable backing up of your VM data to prevent from accidental deletion or data corruption.
This is, to emphasize what Jan is saying, this is that recommendation. As soon as we released it, it's amazing how many people viewed and implemented that recommendation. It's just a great example of where the capability is available to back up your VMs, but maybe not everyone knows about that capability, or they don't know how to access it, or they haven't audited all their VMs to make sure it's in place. So we saw really, really high uptick on that recommendation as soon as they released it.
Exactly. And here is one recommendation that is marked as high priority. Now, why is that? There was a session here before talking about managed disks. And this is one way how Advisor looks at your environment and says, well, you're running this VM, and what you did, you created an availability set. So it means that on the compute side of your VM, you've removed the single point of failure, but you haven't done the same action on the storage side. So this is exactly a recommendation that tells you you are running these 4 availability sets, but you're still running standard storage. And we suggest you to upgrade the storage to managed disks. And of course, when you click the link, in this case, it's not an inline action. You're brought to a specific article on the docs that it shows you even the code, how you can convert that VM from standard to managed storage. Now, what you may have noticed here is the snooze button on the right-hand side. So the snooze, what does it do, is allows you to postpone this notification, this recommendation, by a couple of weeks. Why? Well, for example, you are ready to roll your environment from proof of concept into production in a couple of weeks, and you want to snooze this recommendation until then. Of course, there is a way for you to filter for all those snooze recommendations. Also, feedback is very critical to our team, and our team reviews the feedback on a daily basis. So if you have any particular feedback or additions, suggestions, it's contextual to every single recommendation, so you can give us feedback per recommendation, and it will help us enhance the product based on your feedback. Now, what we have talked about is how you can review all those recommendations right in Azure Portal, in the UI, which is also available. And if you're now having your laptops, I'm sure you can look at aka.ms/Azure Advisor, which will launch your Azure Advisor in your Azure Portal. But some people would like to use programmatic access. And that's why Azure Advisor also provides REST APIs that allow you to get or retrieve the data programmatically, either to your applications, or even potentially you can build a Power BI dashboard. And that Power BI dashboard could be very similar to this one, that is actually connected to the REST APIs and displaying the same data that you've seen on the Azure portal. Now, going back 2 slides, we'll have a couple of more minutes for questions. But here are 2 call to actions, or 2 suggestions. If you want to review your recommendations, as I mentioned, aka.ms/Azure Advisor, that will launch your Azure portal and your personalized set of recommendations. And also, if you want to have some more information or get some other questions, suggestions answered, then visit our Azure Management Experience booth. It's right next to the Expo Theater number 10 in the Expo Hall, which is the OCC South, so it's that direction. We will be there, and we are happy to answer any of your questions. And of course, we have some available gifts for you as well. Please don't forget to submit feedback for this session because it will help us evolve the content going forward. And we have 4 minutes for questions, so if there are any more questions, we are happy to take them.
So earlier you mentioned that one of the rules is editable for the threshold.
Yeah.
How about in the security section where, if, for example, the endpoint protection, right? I know in our environment it's telling us we've got X number of machines without endpoint protection, we do. So I'd like to see what's triggering that rule. Is there any way to modify that?
So the question is about, is the Security Center recommendation for endpoint protection configurable? Let's take a look. So all of the security recommendations in Azure Advisor come from Security Center. And so one of the things that we can do is just click right into Security Center there and go to the recommendations. And I don't know if we'll get an endpoint. There we go. So let's go to this one.
Not installed, so yeah, that's the right one. Okay.
Okay.
And if we click on the...
So you can dismiss it, but it doesn't look like it's configurable beyond that. But I'm not a deep expert on every recommendation for Security Center, so it's possible that they have some information that I don't have, or they might be working on that feature.
And there was a Azure Security Center booth also in the Expo.
In the Expo.
So we are happy to follow up with them. We are happy to take a contact and then follow up with you on that as well.
Any other questions? Yes.
Yes, the question is if it scans classic resources.
It does.
Yes, it does. Scan classic VMs. So regardless if you manage your VMs in an ARM or in a classic fashion, you get those cost savings and high availability recommendations there as well. My question to you, what is the URL to get to the Azure Advisor? aka.ms/Azure Advisor. Yeah, that's how easy it is. Yes, thank you. Any other questions?
And please, if you use the product and you know there's a recommendation you'd like to see, hit that little smile or frown and send us the feedback. We are actively working to add more recommendations to Advisor, and we'll keep doing that over time. And you know, a big input into that is the recommendations you'd like to see. Thank you.
Thank you so much.